you hear, sub MOA guarantee. And I think that term has been bastardized by this industry. Like, what does that mean? Over what sample size?
Yeah, over what sample size and what ammunition?
Yeah.
And what shooter?
What shooter? Yeah, exactly. So, and it was just, an effort to keep that as honest as possible. And I think it does a really good job. We're seeing a lot of really good results with factory match ammo, which again, that's the target for us.
Welcome back to Whiskey and Windage, the 2A podcast for the people, by the people. I'm your host, Mike, joined by my co-hosts, Adam, Matt. Boys, how we doing today?
Oh, dude, I'm good. I'm excited right now, man. This is a guest we've been talking about forever. This is a guest that I've spent more money than I can imagine with, and it's worth every penny, but I'm stoked.
Awesome. Well, Matt, tell us who we got, and man, how you doing?
I am doing great. I'm sitting here with my boys. We have a great guest today, so I'm freaking stoked. Let's freaking go, dude. We have Kirk Forman. He's a product development specialist over at Aero Precision, joining us today on Whiskey and Windage. Kirk, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Dude, we're honored. Man. We're honored.
Glad you got to make it all work out. Glad everything worked out scheduling wise, and I mean, we're looking forward to hearing what you got to say about the I'm excited about what we're going to talk about today.
I got lots to say.
Awesome.
So, Kirk, tell I'm sure all of our devout listeners know exactly who Aero Precision is, but tell us a little bit about Aero Precision and then tell us what you do over there for them.
Yeah, so Aero Precision, we kind of have an interesting company history. It's pretty unique. People ask how aerospace applies to firearms. Initially, when we started, we were actually just an OEM for the aerospace industry. We made airplane parts. We were a job shop, did all that stuff. Started out of our current CEO's garage. Did that for a very long time. He started getting, bids into OEM firearms parts. That kind of grew into its little thing. We built a pretty good reputation there. And then at a certain point, it was like, okay, we need to make this our own brand. So brought in some key people to help grow that into its own standalone brand. As that developed, we kind of found ourselves in the parts niche, specifically for AR derivatives. So we were known as the builder company for AR-15s for a very long time. The last several years, we've been working to kind of expand that into more of a full-featured firearms manufacturer. So we have complete rifles now, we have bolt guns, we have silencers, and we're looking to continue to grow those product lines out as we, look at the horizons.
Oh, yeah.
Are you guys still doing anything in the aerospace, or is there a part of the company that's doing that?
Not really, no. I mean, occasionally some stuff will come up. We do have a pretty robust machine shop here, so we can do a lot of stuff. But by and large, we haven't made an airplane part or had a line dedicated to that for quite a while now. Everything behind me in our manufacturing facility here is all dedicated to firearms.
That's awesome.
Awesome. And so, what is it that you do for Aero Precision?
Yeah, so I'm on the product development team, so I do help take ideas and bring them to market as new products. I also work with the marketing team to do things like this, help speak about the products on behalf of the company. So
they send the guy
job.
who really knows what's going on.
So some would say I'm learning every day. I like to learn something new every day. That keeps life interesting. If I'm not learning, I don't know what I'm doing. So try to share what little knowledge I can pick up with the world.
Nah, I think you know a lot. I've seen you do a lot of content. I think you're pretty knowledgeable. You actually helped Mike fix.
Yeah, you already helped me fix my Solus bolt, so I'm good to go, man.
Yes, we did that.
Offline,
and speaking of the Solus, and speaking of the Solus, because obviously we know you guys have been making AR-15s forever, tons of parts. I've bought more lowers from you than I can count. I love them all, but the bolt action gun, the Solus. I mean, I think I remember. Was it correct me if I'm wrong. Was it 3-shot shows ago when you guys first showed it off? Kind of what was going to come, or was it 4?
I believe it was 3. Yeah, it's all kind of a blur now, and we had that.
Yeah, it's kind of a blur, but that was a big deal when you guys came out. Whoa, a bolt gun, and then I think less than a year later, it was out there, and it was changing the market on bolt guns. I mean, honestly, it's exciting to see you guys get into that realm because there's so many people that only have these X amount of companies before they were going to, and Aero Precision, you guys just make not just a gun, but you guys make it allowed that you could buy a gun or you can interchange parts and kind of make it your own, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I kind of alluded to earlier. We cater to the builder, right? And it was definitely something we wanted to approach very intentionally. There is a lot of instances of like legacy AR companies going into the bolt gun market, or someone who isn't in the bolt gun market, and they do it, and they might do a pretty good job, but sometimes there's a lot of things that are overlooked, and that end customer isn't in mind, because a bolt gun customer is not always an AR customer, and vice versa. There is a lot of overlap. I think, especially when you get to like the tribal leaders within the industry and whatnot. We want to make sure we did it right. We wanted to make sure we honored, that kind of design philosophy we've had with catering to the do-it-yourselfer, lowering barriers to entry, making it easier for that person to assemble their firearm at home. In the bolt gun space, there's really a void to do that in a way that's accessible. We're able to leverage this pretty impressive manufacturing capability we have to bring a customer an action that is, for all intents and purposes, a custom action that's completely open source that they can build at home, for without breaking the bank. And I want to kind of take a moment to say, like, we make it a point to do that without sacrificing quality, right? We want to pass that value on without selling the customer an inferior product, especially with bolt guns, because those are precision instruments in the firearms industry, about as precise as it gets in a lot of cases. So we want to make sure we did that product right and did right by those customers that are going to be investing in our system.
Yeah, I was going to say that's exactly right. The reason I invested in a Solus when I first got it, I won't name the other companies, but I love building bolt guns, and you're buying these actions, and your choice is, if you're the average consumer, or I mean, even if you're a manufacturer, if you're an FFL, your choice is you buy a gun off the shelf, or you buy one, you get one shipped in and you break it down and you swap the barrel and you do all the stuff on it on a factory action. Or you can just buy, if they're in stock, you can buy a factory action from one of the from the big guys. And it's the same action that they put in theirs. And some of those actions are good. Some of them are better and some of them are even better. But they're, the price is still not that cheap. And then when you look at the custom actions, it's, they start at, around $1,000 start at. And then it's, I want to add a special bolt handle. Okay, that's money. Ooh, I want a pick rail on the top. Ooh, that's money. Ooh, I want this. Oh, that's money. And you end up getting, you can get up to, just on a average custom, action from another guy. I mean, you can get $2,000 before you blink.
Oh yeah.
And for you guys to come in, hit the middle of the market, slightly above what these factory actions are costing, and less than what some of these custom actions are costing, and you're delivering a custom action with all the bells and whistles that most people want at a lesser expensive price. I mean, it's a great jumping point.
Yeah, and that was the intent, right? And we have not just the actions; we have complete rifles too. If you're not comfortable building it yourself, and I don't say this lightly. Like, it is easier to build one than an AR-15 if you select quality components, right? Bolt guns are intimidating, and they've been set up kind of that way for a long time. Prior to custom actions and pre-fit barrels, really the most accessible way for most people to get into it, and I use the term accessible very loosely, was to buy a factory Remington 700 action or what have you. Take it out, take it to a gunsmith, get it blueprinted, get your barrel cut for it, your chamber cut, and that adds up really quickly, and then it becomes a rich man's sport.
The only thing, if you wanted to get into bolt action rifles, not tearing old ones down, just starting bare bone minimum, you're gonna need a decent barrel vise. That's the first thing, or an action vise, whichever one you choose to go with. You can go with either or, and a good quality set of headspace gauges. If you get headspace gauges, a go and a no-go, that's what you need. And if you can watch a 5-minute YouTube on how to do that, I don't want to give you advice and get blamed for it, but if you watch a 5-minute YouTube, like, it's not that hard.
Well, you can watch Aero Precision's YouTube, right?
Yeah, we have on YouTube we have it, and then like we have a full build video on our website. We can't host that on YouTube, but if you go to like our FAQs on our customer service help desk center, there's a full video walking you through how to do it. It's pretty easy, surprisingly easy for a lot of people. You talk them through it, and they're like, oh, I don't know, and I'm like, it's easier than they are, and they go, really, and I'm like, tightening like 2 things down, you're driving some pins in, and then you're there.
Yeah.
But that's the misconception though, because I'm an AR guy and I've built more ARs than I can count, and I'm always thinking that I can do that all day. And then shooting with Mike, Mike got me into bolt guns for the first time. I went to his house, and it kind of got me addicted. And I started looking at like, oh, well, can I build one? And it was a little intimidating. But then I looking at arrows, like I think this is the route I'm going to go, is starting with a Solus and building my own. It's like talking to Mike, I'm like, oh, it's not that bad.
You got your barrel threads in the front. You need a barrel nut. This already comes with a built-in lug, so you're done. On the bottom, you're going to need a screw or 2, depending. This one, it's 1 screw, but you're going to need a screw to hold your trigger in. And then you've got a bolt down here and a bolt down here that are going to screw your action directly to the stock. And depending on what stock you buy, you might actually have to spend more time tweaking and twisting and tightening your stock if it's one of those chassis than you will the whole gun. I mean,
adjusting the
there's
stock.
a little more than that, but I mean, that's the basic in a nutshell. I mean, they're not that hard.
Yeah, and even to take it a step further, like the barrel, you talked about the barrel nut with that's the Savage small shank prefits, right? Those are variable headspace. You have to set your headspace on those. If you want to go, a step easier with a barrel vise and an action wrench, you can do a shouldered prefit, and trust but verify. But you just thread that thing on, torque it to spec, check your headspace, and you're good. And the reason we're able to do that is it's these actions have a very high emphasis on quality, and I want to make sure I really drive that point home. Every single action we put out for the Solus bolt action rifle platforms goes on a CMM table in our QC lab, and we measure every critical dimension to ensure everything is good to go. So every action has a CMM report attached to it, so we can ensure whether that's going to just a casual target shooter or a PRS competitor. That they can have confidence when they're building that rifle and know it's going to work with their quality barrel and match up the way it's supposed to.
See,
That's
and
great.
I'll say like before, I mean, I'm military, I'm AR-15, rifle, go. That's my training. And I didn't realize how much fun like bolt action guns are until I shot with Mike. Mike got me in, I got to his house and I got to some bolt action stuff. And Mike will tell you, I fell in love with it. Like, and we were shooting some pretty expensive rounds and I just kept going through Mike's rounds because they weren't mine. So it was great. But I got hooked really quick. And there's something about the mechanical aspect of just doing, it's like driving a manual car almost. Like there's something to driving and controlling the machine. It's almost the same thing with a bolt action gun that I fell in love with. It's just like, there's something primitive about it still. There's just, I love it.
I think it's extra stress, honestly. I think it heightens all your senses. With an AR or any semi-automatic weapon, unless you're on that last round of the mag, all you have to do is pull the trigger again for your follow-up shot. I mean, it's, I missed. Let's just keep pulling the trigger till it hits. If that's how you roll. But with a bolt gun, it's like, if you're in a hunting situation, I have one shot, and as soon as that trigger gets pulled, I have to rack the bolt back, put another one in the chamber, lock the bolt down while staying on target and focusing, because once all that stuff is done, you got to get back on target. And it's like, there's more steps, but there's more satisfaction when you achieve it.
And it sounds simple too, and people, just doing this, and I'm like, okay, let me put a timer in front of you, and we'll see how simple it is. Let's add some stress, go shoot a match.
Like you said, I remember being an AR guy. I remember I took my first shot, and I'm like, and it took me probably 5 or 6 rounds to realize, you got to, but once you get into it, there's something about it. It's that mechanical aspect that takes you back to primitive times. I love it. So
even if there's no timer, like if you just get 2 guys with, I don't even care, it can be bolt action 308, 22, you name it, 2 guys, 1 Coke can, or 5 Coke cans, and you say, hey, these are the order we have to shoot them in. First one to hit it each one gets the point. That stress level, dude, is like, because you're moving, everything is moving, and it's tough, and it really tests you as a shooter. But how are these doing on the PRS circuit? I know you've got to have some guys that are out there shooting them. How are they comparing to, the legacy stuff that's out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's a slow burn. It takes a while for people to start adopting and having that confidence in the product, right? When we first launched it, we knew it was going to be a slow burn, but now you can go to a lot of matches and you'll see, dudes running open guns, built on our action, as well as, for a production gun, it's great. If you're trying to do factory production division, depending on what league you're shooting, it checks all those boxes. We wanted to make sure it was a good turnkey solution, had all the adjustments you needed. but also, again, if you want to build it, it has all the features baked into it as well for that. So you're not really, pigeonholed into one thing. The other thing that is, I think, really lends that product to success is you can buy a turnkey rifle. Cool. When you kind of figure out what you want and what you need, it's that same action that we're selling standalone that goes on the CMM table, all that fun stuff. So you can take, that rifle, and you might change the rifle, but that action will be the last action you need for a good long while until you need to jump up to a long action or, whatever else, build another rifle for a different use case. So yeah, we've had a lot of success with it. It's been very well received. Kind of when we were developing this, it's like, okay, we launch it, and we're like, okay, we got to check sniper side we were checking sniper side every week just to see what was happening, and slowly but surely, it's kind of started to get a good cult following, and that's great to see. That means we designed the product right. We want it to be so not just something we're happy with, but something that other end users will be happy with, and that's kind of just a core design pillar in what we do.
I think you guys nailed it. I haven't shot one, but I've got to look at the system. I've got to look at a couple actions and barrels, and touch the product and see it. And I think, you did what Aero does. I think you guys provide a really whatever it is. It's really feature rich and well made for the cost. There's a lot of value in it, and I don't mean that it's cheap. None of this stuff is inexpensive. There's more expensive stuff out on the market, of course, but I think for the value that it provides, there's a lot of that there. I need to get a shoot of Solus. Is Solus an acronym? I see it capitalized everywhere.
No, it's we just like to, on the marketing end, it looks cool.
They're just yelling at you.
Okay.
We're yelling.
All right.
It's all caps.
If it was an acronym, I couldn't find it when I was looking. I was like, is Solus an acronym? So I was
it's kind of got several meanings. It kind of harkens partly because it is a precision rifle action. We also do the lightweights. This product is also designed to where if you want to build a hunting rifle, we're actually currently in the process of developing, kind of rebuilding out that hunting line. We have the lightweight actions up on the site. So from like the hunting end, it's like kind of you're alone. Like hunting is generally a very personal thing. There are social aspects to it, but in the grand scheme of things, especially like Western hunting out here, you're in the city. I'm in Lakewood, Washington right now, very urban. But when you get out into the backcountry, right, you're pretty alone. So it kind of harkens to that a little bit from just a marketing end. And then the other piece of it that kind of has meaning to us is it was really the first product line for us that stood really far out from the AR line, right? We had the suppressors too, which were a deviation, but bolt guns, it's kind of a 180 to what people are used to, us being a black rifle company. So that's all there is to it. A lot of it is too just what sounds cool. Naming products, in my opinion, is the most annoying part of development. We spent a lot of time trying to figure out something right that's not already trademarked.
Well, I think it's a really cool step as well because, like you said, like custom bolt gun for a lot of people is unapproachable. Like traditionally, I'm kind of an AK guy, and AR guys don't quite understand that. Like most guns are not like Allen keys and snap together. Like bolt guns are they're pressed and they've got pins in them to hold them in place, and they've been drilled in places, and like they're a complicated process.
Some of them,
you guys
not now.
You guys are
now.
doing great and taking that new technology of really good modularity in a bolt gun, but bringing it to a consumer approachable level is like, that's freaking rad. I love it.
Yeah, and a lot of it, again, what's gonna be a product that us and end users are happy with? What's that look like, and how do we leverage our internal engineering capabilities, our manufacturing capabilities to do so in a way that's again accessible. Again, not cheap by any means, but it's a lot easier to build something comparable to something much more expensive with our system.
Yes.
So, Kirk, you talked about manufacturing a lot of stuff in-house, and you guys make almost everything in-house. When it comes to barrels, so also it's just curiosity. So my understanding is you guys bought Ballistic Advantage. You own Ballistic Advantage, correct?
Yeah, we have a partnership with them.
So I know they make a lot of the AR-15 barrels, or most of them. Do they also? Is that where we get all the barrels for the Solus as well?
Yep. So we share ownership with them, and then first question, and then the bolt gun barrels are also from them. They did do they're kind of an unsung hero and all this. They did put a lot of legwork in to step up for this product, and that's not saying the AR barrels are bad by any means. It's just a different animal, right?
Yeah.
So they worked in a blanking process where they're hunting and lapping every Solus barrel.
Yes.
They really refine that blanking process to where when they cut it, we have a very, very accurate barrel out of the box. That was a big thing for us. You hear, sub MOA guarantee. And I think that term has been bastardized by this industry. Like, what does that mean? Over what sample size?
Yeah, over what sample size and what ammunition?
What ammunition, yeah.
And what shooter?
What shooter? Yeah, exactly. So, and it was just, an effort to keep that as honest as possible. And I think it does a really good job. We're seeing a lot of really good results with factory match ammo, which again, that's the target for us. I don't want any rifle we put out to be something you have to hand load to get good performance out of. You should be able to go get Hornady, Federal, Gold Medal Match, any of those good reputable match ammos, and be able to, at least with a handful, if not the majority, get sub-minute of angle results. So yeah. Anyways, long story short, they really stepped up, and we've had very good results with them, and been happy with them, and it's been yet again a great partnership.
I don't want to make people think when you buy this and you buy the barrel and you make everything yourself or whatever. There's the job's not over and you got to keep building. But have you guys experienced? You said with BA, they're honing them, trying to true them up. Is there still, compared to the big factory produced rifles like your Remingtons, like all these other guys, is there really a big need or a vast difference to blueprint these things now at that point?
No, you don't need to blueprint them. It's an open source action. The tenon is cut very precisely on the barrel, and the tenon portion of the action is cut very precisely. So a gunsmith shouldn't have to touch it. Gunsmiths still do great work, and they're very necessary for some things. But a customer should also be able to buy an action, buy a barrel, and slap it together. If you're trying to go the extra mile with it, or you're trying to tailor it to something very, very custom, where the gunsmith would come into play, I would say, is if you have a blank and you want to cut it to a very specific specification, then go contact your gunsmith. Again, that's kind of a craft in this country that's being taken for granted by a lot of people, in my opinion. And I don't want this to look like, hey, we're trying to shut gunsmiths out. That's not it. But just applying them in specific ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, long story short, yeah, you don't need to blueprint them, but also, if you want to do something cool, feel free to reach out to your gunsmith.
That's awesome to know. I mean, that's always one of those things that people, once you build something, if you've ever built a bolt gun, it always makes you, you always are left wanting to know more. Like, man, is this the best it's going to be? Or do I need to do more? Or, can I improve the accuracy by doing the lapping, doing the truing, doing the honing, doing the blueprinting? Like, is there a point? And I mean, if you think about
a race car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, it's good enough. I guess everybody has to individually define their good enough. Is it good enough for you to take, and shoot some long range, hunting? Yeah, probably. Are you going to go compete against other people in, XLR events or whatever? Like, their stuff's probably printed and they're probably there. So like, if you don't do it, you're behind the curve, and it doesn't even mean yours needs it. Like, it's just, they want that extra. So you should probably do that. But
yeah, a lot of, like, I would say with, and this isn't just speaking about us, but just in general in the precision rifle community, taking cost out of it, any of that stuff out of it, right? I think most companies that are reputable and popular in those spaces will get you, 90% the way there compared to something you're getting at a big box store that costs you $300, right? You get these rifles, these precision rifles, you're about 90% there, and then everyone's kind of chasing that at a competitive level, chasing that last 10%. You get diminishing returns. That's why I like that race car analogy so much. You can make a pretty fast car pretty easy, but it's making the fastest car that's really hard.
Yeah, that's that extra 10%.
You're still happy if you can make a Honda Civic smoke a Ferrari, though.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And then again, that's why I think this action's a great option for a lot of people that are getting into it, because say you shoot your barrel out and you're like, okay, I want to do something a little more. Then you can either go with try some different stuff with barrels that maybe a company is doing something you're like or interested in. You can throw that in, or more importantly, again, you can go get your barrel blank from whoever and have a custom cut chamber for your rifle, and that'll help you fight for that last 10%. But you're still using that same action. You're not having to repurchase.
That's awesome. And so when you guys, I was going to say, when you first came out with it, I'm holding one of the first ones. It came out and it was for your just for your standard, your short action. It was for 6.5 Creed, 308, any of those type calibers. Then you just came out with your long action just recently. It's going to be your 300 Win Mag, a few others. And I can't remember, so I don't want to sound stupid. Is there a 5.56, a 2.23 action? Is there a smaller one?
Yeah, so kind of in tandem with the long action. It's still the short action, but something outside of the barrels and everything being open source, right? Those bolt heads
are always different. Yeah.
Yeah, so your bolt heads are interchangeable. So yeah, pretty recently we launched our, small cal bolt heads, which is going to accommodate your 223, your 5.56, your 300 blackout, all of those. So it's a toolless bolt head swap. You can swap that out and then throw the barrel you want on, do that. That'll cover you. So again, 223 up to 6.5 PRC in a short action. We poured them a little large at the ejection port, so you can cram a 6.5 PRC in there. And then we jump up to the long action. That's your Win Mag and the rest of the PRC family, Rem Mag, all those traditional Magnum hunting cartridges.
Any other big boy cartridges coming out in the near future?
Yeah, so we have the actions out. You can expect to see kind of the long actions tailored much more to the hunting line. Yeah. So you'll see, again, all your traditional Magnum hunting cartridges. You'll see the PRC family coming with that, and those will be factory options from us, as well as barrels you can buy standalone. And then, at a later date, we'll probably rope in the full top rail long action, and that's more of a niche customer, but that'll cater to those folks doing ELR shooting that want to build a 300 PRC that they can really reach out and get the the full benefit of the top rail. It just comes down to use case at that point. I know it seems like splitting hairs, but if you're gonna build it for a use case, do it the way you want it. So
when is the 50 BMG coming out?
I mean, I'll tell you what. If you have someone that's willing to buy, a whole pile of them, let me know, and we'll develop one.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah,
it sounds like Kirk's pitched that to the money people before.
I mean, it's a cool idea.
Yeah. In the future, once we kind of get these product lines built out and are serving, the majority of the markets, I would eventually like to do, and this is just me speaking, theoretically here for now.
Product development.
Do some XL actions, get some Norma mags, get that kind of thing out of there. I'd love to have a big Solus I could build into one of the enabler cartridges or something like that.
Some weather keys and stuff.
I mean, you could at least build one for product development for yourself.
Yeah, I get in trouble with that though. They don't like when I
research and development.
So you've done it. Hey, at least we know you've done it. I don't blame that.
I have such a hard time because we all have our weird tastes and weird passions that go into this stuff, and it's like, man, there's some stuff that I think is really, really cool, but who doesn't think it's really cool? Everyone else. We all have this thing. So
I know that feeling, bro. I know that feeling.
You bring that up because it's interesting, because I know that BA's doing the barrels for you guys, and everybody likes their own thing, and I am just I'm depending on the BCs of whatever bullets you're shooting. You're starting to see where you can actually run shorter barrels, and you might lose a little bit of velocity, or you might lose a little bit of your long distance, but for guys that are just going in the woods and hunting in heavy cover, so it's kind of nice. And it's like, man, do you think in the future, I mean, and I know the answer is probably yes in the future, but you can't make excuse for everything, but do you see that coming down the pike where, like, hey, we're going to make some shorter stuff, that way people can put a suppressor on it and just not be touching the tree next to them when they're climbing up?
Absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think, generally, you'll see on a lot of the hunting stuff, especially some of the stuff to come, we're leading it with some of the more traditional, especially in the Magnums, like, your 24-inch lengths.
Yeah,
just because
you have to.
Some people, that's what a lot of people like, and they look at that as the optimal barrel length. But something I challenge people with when they're talking about, speccing out a rifle is, like, how far are you, like, comfortable ethically shooting an animal?
Right.
And then from there you go, okay, do you need a 24, 26-inch barrel to do that? The answer is no.
No.
Western Washington here, I hunt personally, kind of central, eastern, so it's kind of alpine-y, deserty, and still you're talking, what was that?
I said I'm in Idaho, so Idaho, I can relate. Yeah, I hunt.
Yeah, and so you know what I'm talking about, man. Like you're lucky to you'll see animals that may be 500 yards. If I'm seeing out further than that, I can probably get closer. So again, it kind of looks at use case, look at where you're comfortable with. I'm not saying, I don't want to start the whole, debate of like long range hunting. But generally most people, ethically, you're going to be closer than you think you are in a for like a 308, a 18-inch barrel will do just fine for you.
Oh yeah.
Talk to most hunters.
I was gonna say that's where we're at. I'm in the southeast, and I'm in Tennessee, and the Tennessee, the Georgia, the Alabama, the Kentucky. I mean, unless you're hunting some sort of, farm or open field of crop, I mean, the ground cover's so thick, you're not shooting 100 yards.
Yeah.
Like if you don't watch out, you'll look up and they'll be like right under you, and you're like, where did they even come from? So it's
you can hunt deer on Mike's property with a handgun.
You can hunt them on my front porch and pet them first.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge thing. And I think the gun being portable, I think is more of an advantage. You don't want the bullet to be going too slow because I'm not saying go out and get like an 8-inch 308 because that could also be unethical.
That's awesome.
That's
but in a different way.
I'll take all the 8-inch 308s.
But
awesome, but in a different way.
Yeah, don't go chopping it off, and that might run into accuracy issues or velocity issues for reliable expansion that might make your shot unethical. But you can cut 2 inches off the barrel. You can buy a barrel that's 2 inches shorter, and you'll be okay. Plenty of people have harvested animals at the same distances, which with cartridges that are ballistically much less efficient, and it was fine. So,
yeah.
Anyway, that's my short barrel for field use rant.
Yeah, because I think it segues us really good because I'm a guy that suppressor on everything. So when I build this Solus, when I build it, if the barrel's 24 inches, I guess I'm rocking 28 to 30 inches, just going. But I want to put suppressors on everything, so that's why I'm really lobbying for a shorter barrel. But you guys last year came out with some suppressors.
Yeah, I think actually two years ago.
2 years ago. Well, you brought them out 2 years ago. A couple shipped, but like it became more prominent.
Yeah, this last SHOT Show was us there as like more of a full featured suppressor manufacturer because we had more than just 30 cal cans.
Yes, right. And it was like, oh wow, like it's becoming. I don't want to say it's becoming the trend and keeping up with the the Joneses or whatever, but it seems like everybody is making suppressors now, which is a good thing because we need the suppressor market saturated. We do, as long as they are built quality. It's like saying we don't need any more gun manufacturers. Like we need all of them we can get, as long as you're building quality. But you guys came out, and I guess the reasons, what were some of the reasons why, and what were some of the goals, in if we're going to make one, here's what we got to make sure that we accomplish.
Yeah, so that's kind of it's not too long of a story, but again, you'll see a trend here. How can we leverage our machining capabilities to help better serve our customers, right? And suppressor use is becoming more commonplace. It's growing, so naturally, there's a very easy business case to be made, especially now. If people haven't looked into it now, they certainly should be, because suppressors are more prevalent than ever. They're kind of demystified.
Matt,
right?
Matt doesn't own a suppressor.
Well, I know a guy. I'll refer you a dealer, and I know.
Nice.
So yeah, like with things like Silencer Shop and their kiosk system, that's really, really, really like reduced barriers to entry. Like the day I turned 21, I went to a Silencer Shop kiosk and was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is the way.
Shout out Dave Matheny.
Yep. Good Dave,
people over there. Justin over there, man, they're all good people.
Yeah. I gotta give Elliot and Chase a shout out to the marketing guys.
Oh yeah, Elliot and Chase. That's right. That's right.
So we want to approach that, and again, we don't want to be just a company that does one thing really well, just kind of throwing stuff at the wall elsewhere. Yeah. We want it to be something that users will make, and I think we have a lot of end users at the company, and there's kind of an interesting relationship there with VG6 Precision. So you're familiar with them? That's our muzzle device company that we acquired way back in the day. So Jaden, the Mr. VG6 himself, he actually came and worked for us as an engineer, and he's a fluid dynamics engineer, really brilliant person. So for him, he was like chomping at the bit to do this, man. So, and then from a products end, it's like, okay, how do we want to do this correctly in a way that's like a good entry level can for us as a brand, and something that's going to help serve that market really well. And that was the Lahar 30. That's what that turned into. And when we're approaching that, it's like, okay, here's the boxes you need to check. It's a suppressor. It's a suppressor silencer, whatever semantics you want to use. It needs to be quiet. Needs to be full auto rated, no minimum barrel length. That's something that a lot of users want in a first can. needs to be full auto rated, even though most people don't own machine guns. That adds
people they like that just like a bolt carrier. Everyone needs a full auto bolt carrier group just because.
I can actually make a case for that, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah,
carrier mass is important. It needs to do those. It needs to be, hub compatible. We were lucky to get into it. We started that project at the time that hub was starting to really catch on, which for us was great because now we're not having to backtrack. We can get something out the gate that, again, is open source. I know I've used that word like 100 times already, but it's important.
I think open source is great though, because open source just tells, it should give the consumer, your consumer market, peace of mind knowing that you guys are putting the trade secrets out there for all to make or all to adapt to, or the other company is. So there's no hiding and monopolies on, oh, you got to use this with this. It's here's what we're doing. We want everyone to adopt what we're doing because we want to adopt what they're doing.
Yeah. And it's great. And, there's a couple key brands that played a huge part in that. And, we're really, really thankful for that becoming a thing. And that's good, not just for new customers, but also, existing customers, right? Like I own dead air cans personally. I'm very heavily invested in chemo right now. So I'm not, it's not something like, I don't want to develop this really awesome can, buy it, and then have to go buy all of our muzzle devices. Right. And customers, I'm sure, feel the same way. That being said, we also have a QD that we've been developing. I know people have been asking for it forever, but that's coming very soon, hopefully. So, anyway, open source, all that stuff. And then construction is kind of the last piece, and that helps ensure that you have those ratings that you want for barrel length, caliber, all that fun stuff. And for that, we ended up settling on 17.4 stainless for the majority of it with an Inconel blast baffle. And for those who don't know what Inconel is, it has really high heat and abrasion resistance. And that first baffle in your can's the part that's usually going to wear out the quickest. So if you can make that out of some wonder metal that's going to last a little bit longer, it'll help that suppressor live a good, long, happy life. You take all that, weld it together, super strong. And then that was kind of our formula for the Lahar, and we had to fine tune the baffle geometry, not just to make it quiet, but make the tone lower. Lower tones are less discernible with the human ear than high pitched tones. Mm-hmm. So making sure it was actually comfortable with the shooter's ear, rather than just reading well on a decibel meter.
And it makes sense. You guys focus on one can first, right? With the Lahars, your can 30 cal. And I personally think, my personal opinion is that if you're going to buy a can, I always recommend for your first can 30 cal because the versatility of it. And that's what I've done. And you can still put it on a 5.56. You can still run it on a lot of other calibers. And I think that's cool because other companies I've seen, they get in the suppressor game and they want to drop 4 or 5 at a time. Make one good one first, right? And then kind of go off that.
Yeah. So we let in with that. We did 3 different lengths, and that again kind of caters to different use cases. The things that tank, it has a K can that's really good for duty use for professional end users or someone that's just looking for something with a lower overall footprint. We talk about hunting. It's actually a good candidate for that. It's not going to be as quiet, but it keeps that footprint low, so you're not smacking your rifle into tree branches when it's slung. Standard's a good intermediate length that covers all your use cases. Pretty well, and then you have your L can, which is the long boy. That's really quiet and it really shines on I think chassis bolt guns, that type of thing. It really helps suck that noise out.
I think it's interesting. The 30 cal, it was your first. From my talks, again, I don't own any suppressors, but I've had the privilege of talking to a lot of folks in the industry, and it used to be kind of faux pas that a virgin suppressor buyer would be like, oh, I'm going to get one that works for everything, and they never really do. And you stumble around and you jump around, you end up with 15 of the things. But it seems like a lot of manufacturers are starting to try and build that.
30 cal gateway drug, man.
Yeah, they're trying to make trying to make a thing that's okay, if this is your one, it's gonna do a pretty wide range of things for you.
Yeah, and I think that's a pretty natural journey for most people. Again, I talked about that mystic day, my 21st birthday, my responsible financial decisions. It was a 30 cal can, a 45 can, and a 22 can. Those were the 3 I bought.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That covered all my bases. Covers all my bases, right?
100%.
As I got more into it, I was like, okay, I want something a little bit better to this, a little bit better for that. Yeah. But at the time, I was very happy with that, and that covered just about everything I needed without getting too in the weeds. So,
I don't want to put you too on the spot, but I was doing my research on the can a bit, and I was having a little bit of a hard time finding the the bore diameter of the 30 cal can. Do you know it off the top of your head?
I can't remember what exactly it is. It is bigger. They're all suppressors are a little bit bigger than what they advertise.
Right.
I think it's about 10%. I don't have the drawing in front of me, and it's
Okay.
It's been a long week, so apologies.
No,
that's right on some of the numbers I remember.
No, that's
but it's pretty close to around 35. That gives kind of the listeners a good reference point. 35 caliber, and that's going to do a couple things. You might have a barrel that's a little less concentric, or the bullet might do something weird. That's going to ensure you don't have a baffle strike.
AKs.
So just about every AKs. Yep.
I guess that's what I was leading. Have you guys tried it on AKs yet? Is what I meant to say.
Yeah. Okay. It'll shoot on 7.62 by 39.
Can works great. Gun not so much.
Yeah, just make sure your threads are concentric. I know you're an AK guy, and I love AKs myself, but a lot of them were made in in less ideal manufacturing conditions.
There's some wonky ones out there.
Yeah,
man.
Good enough. It was good enough.
Good enough. Yeah, good enough.
Rifle fun.
Yeah. Nice. So do ensure that, and even some like domestically produced barrels. If you're of a questionable manufacturer, right, you might have some concentricity issues. But that's a good segue for me. In the manufacturing process, we actually cut the final bore of the suppressor at the end after it's all welded together, so we don't get any weird run out. And we do that with a wire EDM machine. So it's very precise. We index it off the mount, so we can almost guarantee that suppressor is completely concentric from the mount threads forward.
Yeah, that's perfect though. I mean, just cutting that final diameter out, the final bore diameter out after it's all done. It's like everything is gonna bend and warp even the slightest bit, because we're talking about welds and prints and all, high heat. Everything's gonna do what it's supposed to do, and then the last thing is, all right, we're gonna cut this dude out and check it with EDM. It's like, that's perfect. I mean, that's the way you want to do it.
Yeah, it's a cool machine. It's one of my favorite to watch. It's like it's a precision jacuzzi. It's this little door that fills up with deionized water, does all the magic, awesome. And then drains, and then you have all your suppressors there. They're cut to final dimensions. So, that's a very important point. This is not me. Also, just for the lawyers out there, that's not me saying you can shoot stuff above 30 cal through your LAR-30. That's not at all what I'm saying. That's there as a safety buffer. So don't go throwing it on anything 9mm. You will more than likely blow it off the front of your gun. That'll cover anything within 30 cal, and then again, like things like AKs or things that might not be perfectly concentric, gives you a little bit of room there. Always alignment rod your suppressor to your host if you can. That's definitely something that is recommended. So
use your alignment rod, kids.
Yep. So then you guys also made the next. I think was a great because after 30 cal, in my opinion, the next coolest thing to suppress is a 22. Everyone can suppress 22, and that's where you guys went. So. Also, by the names of these suppressors, we did some research. They seem to be go back to volcanics or volcanoes. Yes. Is there what's with that?
So for y'all and folks that haven't been to the South Puget Sound area where we're located, we have Mount Rainier. It's one of the largest volcanoes in North America. It's just a landmark here. It's really beautiful. I'm super blessed to be able to see that thing while I'm driving into work every day. She's dominates the landscape here, and we're very happy about it. But it was kind of a hearkening to that. Where again, names are very difficult. We're like, oh, what can we call it that's kind of local? And we're like, oh, well, we got this big gorgeous mountain here, big national park. Let's hearken to that a little bit. So they're all volcanic terms. So the Lahar is named after when a glacial volcano erupts, something that has snow and ice on it erupts, it all the snow melts, and you get this really destructive mudslide that comes as a result. So that's the Lahar. That's a Lahar. So that's where the Lahar name comes from. Tephra, it's a 22 can, small. Tephra is the small granular particulate that gets kicked up from a volcanic eruption. So that's where that comes from. And then the pistol can we're starting development on right now. Actually, that's going to have a volcanic name as well. So that'll kind of be consistent throughout our Aero Precision suppressor.
Will that be at SHOT Show in 25?
Not 25, but hopefully not long after. If not 26, there'll be some sort of announcement on that.
That'd be cool.
We don't want to rush it. We don't want to rush it.
Right.
Yeah, well, you got the most important thing. I love that because, I think now in just today's society, it doesn't have to be in the firearms industry. Companies rush to get something to market just to say they did it.
Yep.
And if you want to do that, fine. but like be a little transparent about it. Hey, we pushed this through so we could say we did it, and now we're going to fine tune it. But it's just crazy. It never fails. I remember 2 years ago, and I'm not trying to pick on these guys, but I remember 2 years ago, Hollow Sun came out with those pistol thermals and night vision optics that were just so cool, and everybody wanted one. And sure shit, the next SHOT Show they were out again, showing the same ones off, and then they shipped. And it was like, man, y'all rushed to get this out, and it took over a year to get it. Like, just be upfront with people. Tell people what you're doing. Like, it's cool to see a prototype.
Yeah, and it's something we struggle with, and I'll be kind of self-aware here, right? We get excited about stuff, and we'll announce it at SHOT Show. The Solus folder is a perfect example of this. I got customers ready to break my door down with pitchforks over this folding adapter, and got excited and announced it, and then it's like, okay, and then you run it. Development, there's always something unforeseen, or you're just not quite happy with it yet. So you have however many iterations. Again, we're kind of closing in on some of that stuff finally, so it's good. But that's the reason for it, right? I want to make sure, if we're putting something out there, whether it's a recreational shooter or not, it could be life-saving equipment. We want to treat it like such.
Yeah. Well, you don't want to send something out and the guys are killing you over a folder, and you send the piece out and then it's a piece of junk.
Yeah.
Because you rushed it out to get them. It's like, hey, it doesn't quite work yet, or it wobbles a little too much, or it doesn't quite lock back every time. But if you want it, we'll send it. And then
customer
you
service,
like, this is a piece of junk. Why did they make junk? And it's like, well, we told you it's not ready. You can't win either way. I mean, it's just how it is.
Yeah. So there's that. And then, balancing projects. And, when you get to a company of this scale, we're never working on just one thing at a time. So it's, it's complex. But anyways, long and short of it is, development times are fun, and we generally will try to do it as right as we can, without it turning into a science experiment.
Well, you also mentioned something before, and I kind of commend you guys for. You talked about there's ideas you have, but maybe can you sell 10,000 of them? Because obviously it'd be profitable. But what you guys do that I love is the builder kits every month. You come up with a cool design that what. We're probably not going to sell 10,000 of these, but we could probably sell 1,000 of them or 2,000. And every week it's something unique. And now you're doing it with your bolt guns, you're doing it with your AR-15s, and I do enjoy the builder. And they go quick. There's been a couple I've tried to get, and you better be on the day they come out.
Some of them are collectible.
During COVID,
some of the sets got collectible.
We could have done one in Barney Purple during COVID, and it would have sold out quick. But there was Eli Urian did one. He's a very talented Cerakoter. He did his black topographic, and that was kind of the first big industry push on that. He kind of pioneered that space, right? And that thing sold out, and it was under 60 seconds, I think. The website broke. It was definitely under 5 minutes, but it was a record. It was a record sellout for us. So yeah, it can be pretty exciting. And generally, I'll kind of tease this here. That some of those things are you talk to people, and maybe there's 50 people that think it's pretty cool. Maybe there's 100.
Yeah.
So long term, I'd like to get us to the point where we can do some small batch stuff. That's maybe I think it's cool, but I'm not super confident we'll sell volumes, but it'll cater to that really loud minority. How can we do that? And then if it's really successful, we can make it a legacy offering. So I'll leave it at that. But there's some things at play, on the product development side of the house where we're trying to,
I want to see a Borderlands. I want to see a Borderlands builder kit.
We did one.
Yeah, they did one of those.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, they did a Borderlands. Yeah,
Eli Urian. Yeah, he if you want one done like that, hit him up. He's again very talented. He did the cell shading on it. We actually called it the Vault Hunter. Was the name of the camo.
Yeah, they come out quick. I have an idea for you guys. I'm telling you, you'll sell at least 10 of them, maybe 3. A whiskey and windage. We need to do a builder's whiskey and windage month, and we need to sell 2
because Matt buys AKs.
Matt only buys AKs.
I own ARs, boys. I do, just not as many as I do AKs.
We'll do it we'll see how many cease and desists we can get from the Bourbon Trail. We'll see how many companies send us a C&D.
Yeah.
We need those type of partners.
I'm looking at the Borderlands one now. I just had to Google it, and I'm like, yeah, I love that.
So I noticed you get some angry people because you guys will put out sometimes on social media what should we do, right? And man, people get all, you should do this. This is how you should do it for the next builder's kit. That people get really passionate about what they think you should do.
Yeah, and it is one of those things. But I gotta challenge people. I'm like, when you're really angry, you gotta remember: are you me in that situation with that one weird thing that I'm really passionate about, or is it something that we're getting asked for a lot? We try to if we're hearing a lot about something, we'll get like legacy camouflages. That's a really good one.
Multicam black, right?
We'll do multicam black if you want to blend in with. I don't know what that blends in with shadows, but
shadows.
The trash.
Get some hate mail over that one, but
trash
offers an authoritative presence. It does that, I guess. That's what the thing is there. But like M81 Woodland. That's the one. I'm a big M81 guy, so I get it. But it's like we'll run M81, and then like slowly it'll start to snowball again, and then you get a bunch of people. I want M81. I want M81.
Yeah.
So you kind of get some of those trends too. People get really passionate about their, especially some camo people. Man, you get like really in the weeds, and you have really passionate about this one camouflage used by the U.S. military for like 2 months, and that's the, like Desert Night camo is a really good one, very short lived, but has a cult following. So we try and cater to that too, and that's kind of more where I get a lot of excitement out of the Ballistic program is where can we do, cool historic camouflage patterns. And, Veterans Day, we'll always do one for that. That's a historical camouflage pattern. And we've, we just did DCU was the most recent one we did for that. But like we did one a couple years back, it was frog skin, and it was a reversible uniform at the time. Really in the weeds here, but I think it was cool how we did it.
No.
So one side was like a beach, like a desert earth tone camo, and the other one was like a jungle camo. It was a reversible uniform. So we did a double feature with Weichel Performance Coatings and Eli. You keep plugging Eli, but he just does such good work. And it was one of the coolest set launches we did, in my opinion. And all the marketing assets look like old like poster ads from World War II. And so stuff like that, it instills a little bit of passion in it for us and the customers.
That's super cool. They got to keep it interesting. I know people who work at black gun factories, and all they do is just sit there and tinker parts together all day, and like they don't do anything. They're not involved in the development process. They're not like there's nothing fun going on there except for you put parts together. And so it's cool to know that like wherever you are in the height of the weeds, that people above and below are listening. Everybody's having a good time. You're collabing with other creators. That's right.
Yeah, and that's a big thing too. Like there's no idea too big or small. It's something like I like to think there's some ideas that aren't market viable, I will say, but generally, good ideas can come from anywhere. We have a really, again on the development side of the house, we're all pretty passionate. On the engineering side, we have a lot of engineers that just do passion projects, and they end up manifesting in the actual products. Marketing, all those folks kind of. All that passion comes together, and there's gold hidden throughout. So we're very have a very good culture in that regard.
Awesome. Matt,
is there anything new? I mean, I know you mentioned the pistol can. Is there anything new that you are able to talk about that's going to be coming out in the future that you guys are excited about, or do we still got to wait a little bit?
Still got to wait a little bit. I mean, we've talked about most of the new stuff that's coming kind of publicly. That we have some lever gun stuff coming. We have the suppressor line going out, the QD in the folder. The stuff that's been promised, right now is kind of where a lot of the coals are burning right now. We want to get that folder to market. Want to get that QD to market. 22 cans out, doing good. We'll probably have
Are you going to do the lever gun similar? I mean, maybe we're just going to have to wait and see. But are you going to do it similar to the standard Aero way? Like, hey man, you probably have to get your own action, but from there, because some of that lever action stuff does get tedious. But
it's very tedious. Right now, it's going to be pretty much just a turnkey solution. We're going to have furniture options are really where a lot of the customization needs to happen.
Yeah,
a lot of things like something we kind of learned getting into it is like it's the design of those is very much showing of the time they were designed, right? Lots of cast parts, things like that. Looking at it through a modern lens, it's like, how did they do this on such a large scale back in the day? But it was just because they had different things at their disposal. They were using CNC machines like we are. So
they used fire and hammers.
People don't understand. When you start modifying some of that lever gun stuff, some of those handrails aren't supposed to fit around those barrels, so you have to remove certain parts and move things around and squeeze things together just to get this thing to fit on. And then once it's on, it's loose. You can tighten it to your heart's content at that point. But some of those parts, it's like, if you don't know what you're doing, you will damage or break your firearm just trying to put a handguard on.
Yeah, it's kind of like Matt's AKs. It's not different animal altogether, right? And that's another fun one. People are like, "Are you guys ever going to do an AK?" And I'm like, if we ever do an AK, we're doing it right. Like I ain't going to be one of those. That's a very easy place to slip as a Western manufacturer. You build ARs and you're like, this isn't a jab at anyone in particular. It's just been a struggle for the United States to produce
it's
AKs. True. There's very few that have done it well, and I don't want to be on that list. So.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, there are some people though that have learned from their mistakes and they're crushing it right now.
Yeah,
I won't gas them up too much, but they know who they are.
It's fair. It's fair.
We all know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, they know.
Yeah,
but there's 100 more that have gone bankrupt.
Yep.
Yeah.
But they listen to their customers and they fix the problems. So
yeah, sure.
But yeah, it's just anyways, roundabout. I keep going on these tangents. I'm so sorry, but
no, you're good.
It's one of those things. It's just do I have the right tools to make what I need? Always have the right tool for the job. And lever guns are no different. AKs are no different. ARs are no different. So.
Yep.
Heck yeah. Well, Kirk, I think we're getting about to that time, brother. I got one last question, and it's for you. It's not for Aero Precision. It's not a unique question to us. Of course, we've stolen it from somebody else just because it's a lot of fun. We like to ask everybody the same thing. In closing, Kirk, the shooter, the gun guy. Everybody's a gun guy. You can judge a gun guy or gun gal by these picks. So it's not the zombie apocalypse. We're not in World War III or anything. Just Kirk's life. If you like hunting, if you like sport shooting, you get 5 guns. NFA doesn't matter. The cost of the ammunition doesn't matter. Any 5 guns ever made in the history of firearms. What 5 guns are you taking with you?
Only 5.
Only
5. Only 5.
Only 5 you get for the rest of your life.
Glock 19. I'm just going to lead with that.
Staple.
That's a very
well-proven
pistol.
That's a given.
True. I'm trying to think of all my use cases here. I'd probably take. I'll be a company man here and say a Solus under the stipulation that I can modify it. I'll do the full top rail and I'll barrel swap for hunting.
There you go.
All right.
I'll cheat there. An AR-15, and I won't cheat on this one. I'll say I'll lock into a configuration. Probably a 16-inch. I think those are a lot more workable than people let them out to be. Or a 14.5 if NFA doesn't apply. 14.5 is a little more compact, and I don't need a pin and weld in this hypothetical. So, some carbine length AR-15. Got my bolt gun covered. I'm up to 3 now.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
you got 2 left.
Okay, so number 4 would probably be like a Beretta, like being conservative with money, like a Beretta Silver Pigeon field gun. I could do clays with that, and I could do upland hunting with that, and I'd be very happy with that.
Respect.
And then the last one, this might be a little silly for some people, but I think it's a very valid use case. A Davy Crockett nuclear recoilless rifle. I want to be an individual nuclear power. So having one of those on hand, NFA laws don't apply. That'd be a sick one to have.
Very cool. Those are some good picks.
Great picks.
Those are great picks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was surprised. I'm like, you never know where people go. And it's like, man, this guy is very, very well-rounded. This guy knows what he wants.
Covered all
his bases. And he even showed a little flair with that last pick, but it's still a very valid pick. Okay.
Hey, a fleet of Soviet tanks is rolling up on me. I'm set. I know that country doesn't exist anymore, but
Red Dawn, baby.
You're a gentleman and a scholar. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. Awesome. Likewise.
Yeah. So tell all the people that are listening where they can find you. Go ahead, plug yourself, plug Aero, plug whatever you want to plug.
Yeah, so Aero Precision, you can find us aeroprecisionusa.com. We have, we're on all the social media. Me personally, you can find me on Instagram, hi.kirk.here. That's how I intro all the Aero Precision videos I do. So forget. That's where we're at.
Hi, Kirk here.
Awesome. I love that. Well, Kirk, we really appreciate you coming on. We appreciate Aero Precision. You're a guest that we've been talking about since when we started Whiskey and Windage. We talked about these, what Goliath companies do we want? Aero Precision's always been up there, so we are honored to have you on. We appreciate it, and you are welcome back anytime.
Thank you for having me. I'd be glad to come back anytime.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, guys, if you listened to this far, make sure you are subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you're on Rumble, because we're on Rumble, get over to YouTube, and if you're on YouTube, get over to Rumble. Just do both. Guys, like I always say, stay dangerous, carry a weapon. We'll talk to you soon.